Good morning, everyone. Today is July 18th, 2021, and we have a very special person here today. We have Celestine Star, but we also have a guest host, and he's going to be helping me out from now on from time to time. His name is Ian Halling, and Ian has been doing UFO research since he could read. So many years of research. He started a UFO group in 1990 in the UK, and many things happened to that group. And it's finally now dissolved. But and then in 1995, he went to Mexico to follow the Mexican flap of UFOs. So he's been around for a very long time, and he's a dear friend. And I'm gonna just hand over the hosting to Ian now. Okay, so thank you, Ian, and thank you, Celestine.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mimi. I'd like to say thank you, Mimi, for giving me the opportunity for hosting for Vancouver UFO. It's my first time for hosting, so go easy on me, guys. But thank you anyway for making me the appointment of the assistant organizer and co-host for what should be an ongoing series of meetups that we're having with Vancouver UFO Group on a regular basis. And we hope to be introducing important speakers and experiences in the field of the UFO phenomena. I want to say a few words, first of all, about our guest this evening, Celestine Star. I've known Celestine since I first met her in California in 2016, and we've worked together on a few projects since, and I think she has a very important message to deliver to us. Dr. Celestine Iisha Star has been called a woman of divine grace for our evolutionary times, possessing great knowledge, wisdom, and expertise in many fields of endeavour. Celestine utilizes her empathic abilities for the betterment of humanity in her receiving universal knowing from her own higher intelligence and direct communications and guidance from her direct relationship with ultra-terrestrials and celestial beings. Throughout her entire life, Celestine has been a celestial, ultra-terrestrial and extraterrestrial experiencer. In 1985, she was asked to be ambassador to the High Spiritual Council, the Galactic Star Federation, and the Galactic Origin Sessions. And Celestine founded the Galactic Earth Council in 2010, offering celestial activations, galactic origin sessions, and Skywatch circles, so that those who hear the Clarion call can come and experience personal contact with our ultra-terrestrial star kin. Celestine has dedicated her life to assisting in the healing, evolution, and awakening of human consciousness for the betterment of humanity and Earth for generations to come. So it gives me a great honor and pleasure to introduce my first guest for hosting and for Vancouver UFO. And without any further ado, here's Celestine Star.
Hello. So greetings to all of you. Glory in the light of the Radiant One. And I'm just so honored to be here to meet all of you. And it is my gracious intent that you should receive everything that you are seeking. Each of you are here today to receive certain information, certain data, things that will move you forward. And certainly this is one of the most powerful times on Earth, because the great transformation is upon us and the end game is happening. So let us begin. I've prepared a PowerPoint that will take us along. I love it. It's early morning, so where we are here in Vancouver in California. Here we go. So again, this is the Vancouver UFO and the Galactic Earth Council presentation here, and I am the guest speaker, Dr. Celestine Iisha Star. So I put a little bit of my science because so many people are wanting to see the spirituality and the science, you know. So neurosensory developer, metaphysical practitioner, ultra-terrestrial and celestial intelligence experiencer, and quantum therapeutic healer. So that's just a little tip of the iceberg there. Okay, And let's see, why are we not going forward? Okay, so I want to give special thanks to our high spiritual council. And they have really been bringing me forward to speak to all of you. The Galactic Star Federation that works directly with me to interface with you, humanity, and the Star Confederation that oversees such a vastness of our creation that we're not really aware of as much as they do for Earth and our Sheshata or Milky Way as we even can conceive. I want to give many deep thanks to you, Mimi Nelson. I'm so happy to meet you. Ian, I love you forever, you know. Thank you so much. And to all of you in the meetup group, the Vancouver UFO, I want to thank our GEC, or Galactic Earth Council members, Skywatchers, and UFO researchers around the world, and of course, all of our star relations, both visible and visible. And just so you know, we are connecting in this moment with our High Spiritual Council. They are aware that you are all here. So what I'd like to do right now is just for all of you to take a moment and I want to speak into my intention for you, and then we're going to look at your intention. So I'm going to share my journey, some of the experience. This is the time of the great transformation. So there's been a lot of sharing of stories of how we came to be where we are. And today I will share my experience with the star relations, immortals, and celestial intelligences. I want to offer you some galactic wisdom concerning humanity's conscious evolution into galactichood, and the Sempereth. Let's see if you could say that name out loud. The Sempereth, or divine plan, that our radiant one, which is what the ultra-terrestrials call our creator, and the impulses that are coming in to humanity on Earth. Understand that a lot of the things that are happening with the ultra-terrestrials is being moved by the creator itself. And so I want to be able to speak into that a little bit. I want to speak to you about the founding of the Galactic Earth Council. We are in our 11th year. We celebrated it up on the mountain, and we had over 50 of our star relations come and greet us and celebrate at the same time. I'm ecstatic. I'm so excited, and I hope to share some knowledge about Skywatches if we have time. There's so much to cover here. I'd like Ian, if you could also just kind of text me when I'm about 20 minutes out, so we know that I will not go over too much if we don't need to. So I want to open the field of awareness to understand the Radiant One's impulse through the High Spiritual Council to assist in the Sempereth, the divine plan, in the reintegration of humanity, which we are called the Earth Kin, with our star relationships, the Star Kin, and what that looks like and how the shift is happening. So there's really no coincidence that you're all here today. And all the things that are happening in your life are being moved, all of us are being moved towards that moment of the veil dropping. And the veil is dropping, and we are interfacing with a whole new dimension that's been there. And this is where our ultra-terrestrials live often. They live in a slight dimension that is adjacent to ours. And since our Schumann resonance, since the weakening of the magnetic sphere, the magnetosphere, we have the solar rays and the gamma rays that are coming in. All of this energy has raised the frequency of the Earth, enabling us to be interfacing a little bit more with our ultra-terrestrials. So here I'd like you to tune in to your intention, because with your intention I will be speaking into the information that you are seeking. So just take a moment, take a breath. Let's connect all of our hearts together. We are one tone for the earth. We are the signature form of the earth, and we join together as one. So I want to breathe with you. I'm going to breathe in the I am and breathe out the we are. And so remember your intent, because that which you are seeking is that which you will hear. And so hopefully your intent is very positive. Okay, so I'm going to bring us into a little bit about my background. I would like you to recognize that I sit before you awakened into galactic consciousness. We can look at a child that only sees its small world and parents, and slowly it expands to family, and then excellent. So we were speaking about the evolution of consciousness into galactichood and what that looks like. So as you grow in consciousness, you have these different elevated moments, and you go from your family to community to city, and it keeps expanding. In America, we have a lot of species, you know, you're brown, you're chocolate, you know, everybody's trying to figure out what color they are. And, but there's so much more, you know. I was raised in England, so it's more national. Oh, you're from Germany, France, oh, you know, merci. But then you have global. And I think when Yuri Gagarin went up in space, and there was pictures sent back of the world, all as one Earth, there began the ecological movement of humanity, and recognizing there are no borders, that we are all one species. And so that's the global consciousness. And so for myself, and for many of you here, you are galactic in consciousness, in that you're recognizing that we're not alone as a species, and we have a vastness of space. We have different planetary systems, different galaxies, and the opening of galactic consciousness is upon you. And knowing that you are here at this time, I'm going to share my walk, and through my walk of awakening, perhaps you can recognize some of the places within you that you have been studying or have learned that have awakened you to bring you to where you are today. So I want to also begin by showing you the beautiful book that was directed by the High Spiritual Council to offer to humanity. It is a resource book. It is the story of my walk with the Galactics. It has an encoded chapter that is directly given to me to present to humanity. It's a transmission that is encoded. I've had scientists to read the chapter, and different walks of life, beings from different walks of life, and all of them say that they could read it again and again, and each time they would get something out of it. We have the advanced Galactic Earth Council members who have been out in the field with me, in contact with our star relations for many, many years, and they've given their talk as well. So this book is an offering, and I just want to place it on the table for any of you who are interested, and you can have this offering at Amazon or at our website, galacticearthcouncil.com. All right, so I was born into a metaphysical family, and metaphysics is really connected to nature and the cosmos and all of the elements. So from the time I could breathe, I was connected to all of the dimensions of creation that you can imagine. I was trained because I have Egyptian Kemetic background and also Native American. This Hermetic arcane magic and the mysteries. So just want to take us through that. And I'm not speaking of the Kemetic mysteries as given by the universities and colleges, but by the true Kemetic lineage of my mother. So there's a big difference in what they tell you from academics and some of the truths that are really going on around you. All right, so just give you a little breeze here. This particular one is the 14 emanations that radiate into the moon and radiate outward, and the intelligence behind all space and time. My learning was not only that I am in memory, full conscious memory of who I was before I came to Earth. Our lineage came from the star system of Sirius, but I was also able to study astronomy, astrology, alchemy, the esoteric sciences. Ontology is one of my favorite, and having to do with nature, existence, the cosmos, all of these teachings before I was the age 15. And at the age of 15, I decided I would go on a study of my own, and in research of what I had learned, was it true or not? Because you can be told by adults, and of course you have to find out things for yourself. So I did a 20-year search of what was absolutely true and what was not, and ended up with a doctorate in comparative religion. Experienced a near death. Actually, I died and went through the light, greeted by two blue beings who are still with me to this day. I was taken through this heavenly realm and eventually ended up in the Godhead. So this was my first, not really the first connection with other spiritual beings, because in the world of arcane magic, you're constantly in connection with intelligences of different natures. So, but this was one that was of a heavenly existence, and I entered the Godhead. So all knowledge, all wisdom, I cannot even speak what I experienced at that time. For those that say don't know, and those that know don't say. But the preciousness and the gracefulness, I entered the place of the Radiant One. And I was told to return, although I said no. They showed me what I was to do in this world, and I said I would come back, and I have come back to show the way towards ultimate unified consciousness, and that is part of my work. I do understand and have always understood, and if I spoke to anyone, they'd say, no, we're not alone. And 99.99% of the population understands this. My question to all of you is, why are we not moving onward and just putting it down as fact? We're still waiting. We're in that transformation of, finally letting go of others telling us what's happening in our lives. And I think all of you here are about that. And I'm very grateful for that. I want to move onward to understanding the medicine wheel. I'm a medicine wheel keeper and was taught by an Arapaho medicine woman at the age of 7, Ruby Sky. And I lived down in New Mexico before we went to England, where I was raised mainly. And so I ran with the Geronimo's great-grandchildren. There was a lot going on in New Mexico at the time. And we'll get a little bit into that as far as the atomic bomb testing and different things that happened. Here we go. So I was there in the 1960s, and I believe that they set off 10 atomic bombs at one time. Whatever they did, and I'm still looking for people who are willing to talk to me about this, they tore the sky in two. And if you can imagine looking for miles and miles, and you just see blank sky. I mean, it was black, no stars. In broad daylight, there was a delineation in the sky, and then on the other side was just a regular sky. As this tear in the world healed, it would snow on one side, the side with all of the blank sky, and it would stay sunny. I mean, you could see a line in the yard where the delineation was. So that has never been talked about. That has never been, I've spoken to this at lectures. I have one person who knows somebody, but I haven't been in contact with them. So we have to imagine that we ourselves ripped the sky, and from that point on, the big mile-wide saucers started appearing in the sky. Those ones, the flying saucers, as they say, the crafts. And believe me, we did a ripple that went all the way through the Milky Way, or the Sheshata, and we ourselves brought forth many intelligences trying to figure out what was going on. Of course, you know, humans feeding their children DDT and opiates and cocaine in their drinks. Yes, what's going on with these humans? I could imagine just coming into it and going, what a world we have. And look at us now still doing things that are not necessarily healthy for the human body. These are things that we have to learn. So this is again the time when I witnessed many of the big flying saucers at the age of 7. Also, we were taken up into one of the ships as a family. You know, my stepfather decided to follow one of these things, and as it landed and our car stopped, the next thing I know, we were inside this craft, and there was very tall, you would call them the grays, with the 3 fingers, 3 or 4 fingers, I can't remember now exactly, but I was very calm. My brother was in hysteria. My mother was kind of semi-conscious. Stepfather was trying to do his lordly thing of making, you know, trying to act brave, you know. But for me, I understood that they had come in to see what was going on with the humans, and of course, why was this family following and being so brave at that? There was a time when all of us, there was a grouping of us who went into entheogenics. You know, it is a pathway, and I had multi-dimensional contact with other star beings, so we don't want to leave that out. And it is a pathway, but it is not the pathway to the stars. It gets you in touch through your inner wisdom, and it makes it, you know, so your body is resonating. This is some of my artwork here. Your body is resonating at a higher frequency, and as your body resonates at a higher frequency modulation, the consciousness opens to different levels. So that was my discovery. And if you look at this picture here, it's basically a little bit of what my brain, my essence, it feels like when I walk around on a daily basis. I want to honor you, Ian, because you and I work together to produce information about my time with Ernest, Robert Hunt, who had the honor of protecting humanity while at the same time having security over a particular base. I'll take you into this segment here in which there was reptilians. There was always a question, is this real, is it not real? But my beautiful late husband, he had always wanted humanity to understand this was happening, but of course there was a warning to our family in which the Icemen came and warned Ernest and myself that should he talk, that we would all be taken off the planet, we would perish. And so at this time he had quite a bit of experience with the nuclear weapons in Europe, and I married him and had little knowledge that I married such a high-level security person who was then, through our travels together, ended up on Edwards Air Force Base. And Edwards Air Force Base is, to me, the true Area 51. I mean, Area 51 is kind of the testing, the deconstruction, reconstruction But what you have at Edwards is the World Command. It's the Dragon's Den, and there's a lot of testing that's going on there, as well as you have the space shuttle programs and different programs, but Ernest was security over this. He did Special Operations Command over Edwards Air Force Base. He had all the levels, he knew all the people, he was in contact with the aerial industry, he saw, you know, Wall Street, he saw who was there, CIA, and in even the, you know, the private industry that was there. He would come home and he couldn't really speak because I think they had him chipped, or in some way he just knew everything in our house was they had security listening devices, and so we knew this is just a part of our lives, and I had accepted that. But it's a very important base, and I had the privilege and the honor to be taken into an area of the base that was high security, and was able to see, without a shadow of a doubt, a reptilian type being that was being held in a room, and to this day it takes my heart to recognize, it takes my heart, it holds my heart, and I say we are so lucky that these creatures that were down in this area could not breathe oxygen. Otherwise we would be in a different situation that we are right now. And the story, if you're interested in it, and I won't go any further, I spoke the story with Ian and Linda Morton Howell with her Earth Files for the reason that Ernest wanted humanity to understand it, that it's really happening, and that we've had this communication and relationship. Our government has had this for some time. So there you have off-planet capability, and that's what made me understand why they don't really care about their Earth. They can take off on a starship and go to another planet, or hang out for 10 years and come back, even if the Earth is kind of wiped clean. So we're in that situation where those that have that edge upon humanity have the ability to leave, truly leave the planet and leave us to our demise. So with that, I honor Ernest Robert Hunt for his bravery in writing to the Pentagon. There's a letter there. It says, I do not believe that I should be in this position. We should tell humanity what's going on. And he wrote this letter, and they released him somewhat, but he did end up losing a lung, and his being able to stay alive when they tried to take him down. So I just want to honor him, take a moment and really just honor him for his work in standing up for all of you and being security for all of you and understand what's going on there. And so we do have the blessings of the ultra-terrestrials who have come here to express the very heart of creation. And I want to say that the ultra-terrestrials that I've worked with, coming from England, you know, in the times when I learned about Stonehenge, which was my playground, and learning about ley lines and this and that, and you come into contact with ultra-terrestrial beings and multidimensional beings, I've learned that their love is true. And they have told me that those that are of reverse consciousness, those that are non-beneficial, that are in the illusionary illusion of them being in control of the world, they are equal to one dark grain of sand in a beach of pure white. So if you're looking at a beach and you see one grain of sand that's dark, that is the equation of how much control the reverse consciousness has on this planet or in the whole of creation. So they always put it in perspective that the radiant one is expressing its own experience. So this reverse consciousness that we're seeing in the mind of taking over and control, and the reverse virtues, which I grew up in as well. There was beings around me who were not safe, and I learned it very, very well. But the blessing is that those beneficial effects live through love, life, and truth. And not all beings outside of our human race are here to harm Earth, because Earth is their home. And so by our own determination and will, we will overcome. I want to bring it back to Einstein and Oppenheimer. They published together a paper on alien contact. It was called Relationships with Inhabitants of Celestial Bodies. So if anybody's interested, we have had disclosure, we've had understanding. Some of this has been held back so that we can have technology. There's a money trail that leads you to those who want to hold back humanity. And so, I call forth all leaders who are able to bring humanity to a close, to close the chapter of, is this true or is this not true? Obviously, for Einstein and Oppenheimer to write such an article way back in 1947, there's something going on, right? So we've got it all going on. Ernest left me with this one thing for all of you, is he left me with the word kryptonite. And for those who really want to do research, you can start at Edwards, and the word is kryptonite. He told me that anything above that, you don't want to know. So if you want to go fishing into that area, that would be the key that would open the door to what you are seeking right now. And so with that, I moved my life away from Ernest. I needed to let go of that. But I want to acknowledge that we've moved now into a whole different reality with computers, and this is in preparation. Everything that's happening is in preparation for the reintegration and humanity's expansion of consciousness, okay? So we have medicines, new medicines, we have technologies beyond our wildest thoughts, quantum energies, and the AI just keeps getting deeper and deeper. We have to be very watchful and not be watched at the same time, yeah? So my field is mostly in consciousness. I'm here to help with the expansion of consciousness, and so there's advanced communications, and my life study has been psychology, science, quantum physics, pyramidology, and laser technologies. I began my work career as an optician, which is the formulation of trigonometry every day. You're working in science and beauty and grace. And then I moved into advanced neurosensory development with Dr. Downing with what we call the Lumitron. Here's my pyramid system. This is back in 1987. This is the beginning of it. It got more developed as we went through. And there's the optical, understanding the physics of optical color spectrum. And this is the Lumitron, which was laser colored light going into the eyes, into the hypothalamus, balancing out the brain. So understanding science, understanding spirituality is the balance. I think, as we were speaking earlier, it is one. If you try to separate it and individuate it and leave out the other, you're missing a part of your formula. So I want to speak about aliens versus ultra-terrestrials for a moment. The alien word was denoted by the government, and the ultra-terrestrials, that is the word they gave me, Star Kin, they do have an opinion about what they are called, believe it or not. We call them extraterrestrials. So for me, the gentle word ultra-terrestrials makes it easy for me. Star relations, they are who you are. And so, yes. So I spent some time in 1985. I became, I went out of my body, and a being of high consciousness, Meso, keeper of the books of the Seventh Council, came in and started speaking through me. And I spent the next 15 years with a small group of people, and we translated hundreds and hundreds of hours of tapes of information, both galactic, metaphysical meditations, in preparation for where we are today. I did this in the high mountains of northwestern California, and there I held light group meetings. We had to be very, very secretive. Remember, I had gone through the Edward scene, so I understood you couldn't just step out and start talking about ultra-terrestrials or anything that had to do with the secret services. But in these light group meetings, we had people such as yourself gathering and bringing information. Russia was so far ahead. They were teaching children how, they had invisible beings writing on a chalkboard. We saw videos. People brought videos in. We understood about Dulce Air Force Base, where they were doing genetic engineering on people. We understood about Area 51 long before it was really brought out to public. But everybody was working under the table, under the wire. You did not want the flashlight to go on. And so I'm so honored to be out here and be able to speak freely about these things. And I can't wait to eventually have the tapes translated and make it all public for everyone. But it is there for the public domain. And so being presented, not presented, but having a ultra-terrestrial in your presence. And I don't know how many of you today have had that experience. Most have seen lights in the sky, small lights, ships maybe going across, but to ever actually have contact where you can sit down and talk with them, this is an extraordinary experience. And within our lifetime, we were within reach. That will be happening for many, because they will come out. Right now, our Space Force, which was developed by former President Trump, he created the Space Force, and they turned on all the space weapons. And I say to them, we cannot handle Earth by ourselves. We need this intelligence. We need this level, because the magnetosphere is weakening. We do not know how to balance it. We do not understand the complexity of the Earth in regard to the whole of the cosmos. And they've told me time and time again. So they've turned on the space weapons, even the Death Star. The 5G is actually, these towers can be raised up to 6G. And from what I understand by the Galactic Star Federation, that it interfered with their ships, their crafts. They have more than two, but the main crafts that they would utilize in our area here near San Francisco is terrestrial ships. They do not need a galaxy ship to just go from one place to another in the Earth atmosphere. And then they had the galaxy ships, and more formidable. They had time ships. There's a lot of technologies that they were working with. And when the 5G was actually turned on to a higher degree, many of the towers were affecting their abilities for certain crafts to function. So they pulled back, and they said they would not have a differential is the word for war. They would not have a war with humanity, and to realize they could cut off all of the towers. They could shut everything down on this planet, should they desire. But it is not their desire. They are not here for any kind of differential. And I understand that in June 24th, 2020, President Nixon had written a letter to be read to humanity, in which an ultra-terrestrial had written a formula for humanity. It was not read to the public. I do put that out to all of you. And in this June 24th, instead, we received something that was just a minor offering, speaking about, unidentified aerial, UAPs, the new word that they want to try to program humanity with. But we actually would like to have that letter read to humanity. And this will solve part of the problem of having the ultra-terrestrials with us. And it'd be interesting to see what President Nixon had about that. And it will settle the matter. Let us move on. There's so much there. I've been across the river. I know it is extraordinary. And so I want to thank each one of you for being on the path and give you my ultimate support and the support of the High Spiritual Council in any way that you need. So for many years, from 1985 to 2010, I stayed hidden. I was in the deepest forest. I was hidden away. And slowly they said, okay, down the mountain with you. I came down the mountain to be with all of you. And we're going to move into that part of my life, coming out to you and founding the Galactic Earth Council in 2010. So just want to thank all the star beings who are with us now, and my work as a priestess enables me to work still in public, but calling in the energies and the frequencies, and so I just want to place that with you. And just to ground my life a little bit, not a woo-woo, we did 2007, Yuri's Night, Bay Area. I worked with the Zero Gravity Arts Consortium and for 2 years, 2007 and 8, along with Pete Warden of the NASA. He's the director of NASA. And we brought together, artists and science, art and science. We did the first international cultural art endeavor in space with the International Space Station. I was able to edit a film that we presented there as the space station went over. We presented this beautiful film with a blessing to Earth from the commander of the International Space Station. So, so I live in many different worlds, as Ian was speaking about, and well-grounded and having fun. This is the whole thing. This is Frank Petronego over here to my left, and he is the founder of the Zero Gravity Arts Consortium, dear beloved friend, and he was the first to do weightless painting in space. So, and then we have our beautiful Golden Star media crew that has been archiving humanity and archiving this event that we did at Yuri's Night. So there I am, after 20 years of research, on my own, coming out to you now, 67 years around the sun, and holding a lot of grace and love for all of you, as my purpose is to assist in the elevation of humanity and to keep the way sacred. And with that, we're going to walk through this doorway. I love doorways. And this is one of the doorways for all of you in the Mayakama Mountains of Lake County in Napa. And here in the beauty of Sonoma. We have also, the keys are open in the beautiful Marin County. This is where the City of Light exists. And this gives you a little idea of what they call septicles. So you could be looking, at this, let me see, let me come back forward. Looking at the landscape, and there behind it, in that, as I said, the interface is right there. And I've taken doctors and I've taken pilots, and when the time is right, if the person's ready, most are not ready. they see the door open and they say, do you want to walk through this hologram? Do you want to go with me into the inner world? And most say no, but in actuality, all of humanity will be brought into this state. How did the Galactic Earth Council come into being? It was that day, April 20th, 2010, Gulf of Mexico. And yeah, the oil spill. How many of you remember that time? Yeah. We were in trouble, and it just kept flowing and flowing. And at the end of April, there was something like 500 starships in the sky. This is one of several images that I took during that time. I was amazed. I said, oh my gosh, you know, we're in trouble, right? And I'm telling this story because it's time. And each of you, I want to encourage each of you to get your voice memo, to get your video, whatever, and tell your story. Archive it, because as the time moves towards the veil final drop and the star beings come out in a loving, peaceful way, and we're welcomed back into the galactic fold of the true reality of creation, your story will be told. And so I love MUFON being here, because that is part of your work, is to archive all of our talks. And so thank you for being here as I'm speaking this one, and I'm spending time in our grouping archiving the work of the Galactic Earth Council. So this was my daughter's first picture of a spaceship. She finally got it. That was not a cloud. And this was the first meeting. The ships were over the house. One stayed for 3 days. I walked out and I said, glory in the light of the radiant one, because that was the mantra I was given to greet another intelligent high being. And they said, gather the people. Gather the people, as many as you can. Come up, give us permission, we will appear, and then we can help you, right? And so this was the gathering of the Galactic Earth Council. There was about 30 of us, and we did our prayers. And as the night went on, we ended up waiting for them to come, and they did come. And as they came, you know, and this picture here is the process that I went through with the Galactics to do the meeting, to do the gathering. They would fly with me and telepathically talk to me about the importance of their connection with all of us. And so when you see the ships going across, perhaps you could just for a moment think, who's flying the ship? Instead of just seeing the phenomena, but actually realize that there's a person that's actually flying the ship. So that night they did come out. Here's some of them. I took pictures of them. I'm enhancing them so that you could see the ships that came out. We gave permission, and the Galactic Earth Council was born. Everybody received their boarding passes, and we've been meeting ever since. It's been glorious. It's been really amazing. This is an actual Stargate that you're looking at. You'll notice the sun is behind the opening in the sky. You'll notice some technologies that are at the bottom of this Stargate. You'll notice a white, a beautiful, it's kind of a bluish craft to the left of the Stargate that came out of the center of the Stargate. So we slowly watch this open, and here's another one that's over Marin spaceship that came out. Just gonna, this is some of the appearances. We had this high spiritual council, which you can tell the difference in their crafts. They are the ones that usually have markings on their craft. They have some of the most beautiful fleet that you've ever seen. They have their own fleet, and their connection is vast areas of time and space, galaxies, and at this time we had 2 luminous beings appear, and they danced down from the sky. It was phenomenal. Here's some of our crew, staunch and really powerful. We go out there in the cold, and these are some of our meetings. We had a doctor who was out there in this one group, and they loved nature so much they designed and crafted the silhouette of San Francisco, which we were looking at in the sky in real time, while the doctor and his wife were there in amazement, glory in the light of the radiant one. This was our 4-year celebration, and we thought that was pretty amazing. And here we are in our 11th year. No one abducted. Everyone has conscious awakening, heart opening. Their lives have expanded, and I could tell you it's been really wonderful. I want to now go into the creational intelligence. Creational intelligence is a word that came to me that humanity is in touch with, but at times kind of blocks it out. It's not really made aware until you really need to have an experience, and it's always there, this creative intelligence. We're never ever alone. So again, it goes back to that connection where we cannot keep Earth in balance alone. This is the very core of the lesson that I'm here to share with all of you. That we need to encourage our Space Force to turn the weapons down. Also, we don't have to worry about the microwave interfering with their crafts. They've already upgraded them, and they're back. During the time of the upgrade, the Star Sirius Council came in, and they watched over Earth as best they could. Also, they were here because of the genetic manipulations that are going on the planet, which is a sign of reverse consciousness. Anytime you have the manipulation of our signature biological form, there will be the stepping in of the different councils to slow the process, because each of you is an expression of creation, not to be tampered with, not to be hybrid, not to, you have this reverse consciousness has a tendency to want to interbreed different species, and so that's a sign. It's an actual sign, they tell us, and that will, you can read it in the book there. All right, we are the children of the Sheshata. We're the children of the Milky Way. I think that's so important for us to understand. This is our home. And when they open the field for all of us on Earth, this is our home. We can travel throughout the Milky Way and even further. But just to see where my mind is expanded to in understanding, in galactic awareness. These are some of the beings that I want to share with you, my personal experiences. This beautiful being appeared in the sky. It was clear, and it stayed with us, about 5 hours. You know, people were just, we were up in a group camping situation on a beautiful ranch up there in Willits. Give you just a little bit, and just breathe that in, you know, just take it in. You know, there is an intelligence there, the way that it moved, the way that it was with us. I felt it was almost like the red Tara, you know. This is another photograph I took of a square cloud when I was traveling across France. The square cloud first came to me there, and as I traveled across from Ireland, England, you know, Scotland, England to France, this cloud was my guide. And anytime I looked into the sky and I saw it, I knew something was being translated to me that I need to take a moment and be aware of. Here I have the one in San Rafael with my girlfriend. It's still with me, and we're having a blast. And there it is. And next to it was a craft that was cloaked, kind of, you could see the formation of their craft, and these are the two together. So also we see orbs a lot. This is a very clear image of a metallically silver orb that I saw over a shopping center one time. And here again in Lourdes, France, I experienced this modulation of clouds. You'll see the left side, the interference pattern. You could tell there's an interference coming in from another dimension. No matter what anybody says, you can feel it. And open your heart to being truthful with yourself. To the right, you see the actual plasmic energy field being moved. Let's bring that closer to you. You could see the plasmic energy being moved. And my girlfriend, Deborah Juicy, she took a picture similar to this. We were taking pictures as the cloud opened, and it opened so extensively. I was looking all the way up, and I was seeing beings in another dimension, kind of like a painting, all the way up to the throne, of which there was a golden light which came down and struck me in the heart. And this was all at Lourdes, France, representing the place where the Virgin Mary, Isis, Lady in White, appeared, and became the whole town is in a state of prayer. So that was like one of the blessings there. This again is, you have to understand, the sun had already set. So the ability of the High Spiritual Council to move nature, it formulated this huge cloud and then brought light into the center of this cloud. I mean, to see this happening, it's just mind-blowing. But I tell people, keep your eyes to this, keep your head to the sky. This is another one we took in Marin. Looks like the eye of God, yes. And people say, oh, scientifically, oh, you know, take the camera, angle it a certain way, you can get this effect. Yes, but when it just appears to you, please, take a moment, you know. This was the beginning of the Stargate. I'm on the freeway driving from San Rafael to Santa Rosa, a 40-minute drive, and I suddenly noticed this aberration in the sky. And later it changed. You can see my finger in the upper left. A being appeared in cloud-like formation, but yet the being wasn't in the film at the time when I took the picture. So only a year later did this being appear in the film. So there's a time trip going on here. There's all kind of information, which is what our grouping, the Galactic Star Federation, the High Spiritual Council, and the Star Confederation, they work to give us technology. They actually present it in many different forms. This is the technology of the movement. It was moving. You can see kind of the rainbow pattern, but you could feel the energy coming from another dimension into this one. And as this pumping in effect was happening, the Stargate was getting wider and wider. When I ended up in Santa Rosa, you could see again, the sun is vertical and the Stargate is horizontal. The sun is behind the Stargate. There's still some dimensional information, and there you have it. So they are about nature, and they present themselves in many ways. This was a dinner where they lined up in formation for me. They came one by one and lined up, and there's actually 7 of them because the commander's down below. And we did have a beautiful flyover. They gave us a 4-point salute. It was fabulous, where one of the command ships came directly over us, those of us that were standing out on the balcony. And so again, I just want to say this creational intelligence revealed. So this particular one that I'm going to share with you, this Merkaba, this was my prayer for all of you. I asked them to give me something to present to you that you could see clearly, and to know that my work is substantial. It's there for you. It's archived. We have all the information. And so it was a night when our grouping was to experience a landing. You see, they work with me for 28 days. This is what we're going to do. This is how it is. And we worked together. And they were going to do a landing, a soft landing, in the field adjacent to where we were, nothing that would cause problem or harm, but give the people, our advanced grouping, the feeling of what it feels like to have a ship land, maybe a scout ship, 16 feet around, 16 feet wide. And so, yeah, so here you have it. The fireball came in, this energy came in from the atmosphere. And later, I'm just taking pictures with my Nikon, and later it opened itself, it started hovering, and I took pictures, and this is what I was given. So take a moment and recognize that you are before the High Spiritual Council and the Galactic Star Federation. This beautiful Merkaba was spinning in place for some time. I was able to snap off not only video but also pictures. And so this is, I want to lay down that there's no longer any need for proof on our part of where we are. I'm sure those of you feel the same. So moving onward, how can they help us? What do you need? What are you about? Do you need science? Do you need medical? Your intent is what moves this forward from this point onward in knowing that we are not alone. What do you need? What does humanity need? And they are standing by for us to help us in whatever way that is. So I want to kind of end with the grace of humanity to recognize yourself as celestial beings. And again, the radiant immortals. This is Yeshi Sojo. She graced us from the Pure Lands, and she came before me. Amaji is another avatar. She appeared to me twice in her rainbow body. She is a true avatar on the planet. And of course, our beautiful illuminated ultra-terrestrials who appear in many different forms. This is Centauri and Sari, and he came to me out of the forest, and he blesses you. He's a little grumpy, but he's so cool. I love him. And again, some of the immortals that I work with. This is Meso, my symbol of Meso. Keeper of the books of the Seventh Council. Tylee Po appeared before me. Babaji, Mer Avatar Babaji. Praying mantis, Andromedans, yes. Insectoids. Also had a bee person that was about 6 feet tall when they took me into the libraries, and I got to see the libraries. Another story. This is the radiant one. My sister Isis. I am Nebuchadnezzar. And this is, she was, her last incarnation, Aset, Isis. Last incarnation was Mother Mary. Thoth, who in Syria, in Sirius, is my father. Ajua, he is the father of humanity, if you open to that level. Mary Magdalene appears to me often. She's here working to help women and those of divine feminine to come forth. She's a part of the doves, of which the Christos is a part of that, Yeshua, the divine ones. Pele, another goddess that appears to me. And so we are in the state of the reintegration of Earth Kin and Star Kin. And they've given me the task of saying to you to go deep into yourself and open yourself to why you came here on Earth. That is an important thing for each of you, to understand your Star Kin family lineage. And I do a lot of work in that. Yes? How are we doing time-wise? Let me see here. I'm gonna...
You okay? Carry on, Celestine.
Carry on?
Yeah, carry on with the presentation. That's fine. There's no problem.
Thank you. So let me go back again. So understanding your galactic heritage, you are a galactic being, incarnate in a biological unit. Your consciousness has the information of where you came from before you came to Earth. So that's a part of our work in offering the galactic origins. And all things are impulsed in the highest degree. All those that are working for the benefit of all come through the Radiant One, right? And this is just assimilation of something beautiful. And yeah. So a lot of the ships that know that you're going to walk out of your door and they fly over, they're given permission to connect with you through the Radiant One. Time and time again, I'm told that they need permission. So you can ask your creator to give yourself permission to have these experiences and preparation, and to really look back at the experiences that you've had. Either you've walked into an area where they live, because they live on Earth, they go between one dimension to another, but they can have an area on Earth specifically where these ultra-terrestrials live. And for you to see them, the synapses of your brain has to be awakened. And I often, when I'm doing Skywatch, will sit for hours, and they'll come out as a hologram of an airplane, and somebody will say, oh, this is an airplane, and they'll split in two, four, and come back to one. They'll circle around, do it again. They'll just produce 100 dragonflies out of nowhere. I mean, there's a constant working to awaken your consciousness, but they do this only with the permission of the Radiant One and your divine self, right? And again, it is a part of the divine plan. We are being brought into the state of galactichood to join in our family. 10,500 years ago, the veil came down. That was the time of the floods. There was several floods, but the main veil came down about 10,500 years ago. And we destroyed that barrier, which enabled us from that time to not have so much tampering. There was a lot of genetic tampering from the reversed ones. In the book, it tells the story. Chapter 11 is the story from the viewpoint of the galactics, of what they experienced of Earth. And so I will not read from the book. Let me see. Let me see if I'll just do one little transmission here. Let's see what the book says, right? Okay.
Excuse me.
Okay, the strategic barriers put in place to keep the original reverse ones from moving into dimensional field of your Earth was destroyed during the destabilization of your solar system. It caused the opening of the way for the reverse ones to return into certain areas of your Sheshatan, your solar system. Many of the original reverse ones were not embodied in a physical form. Rather, their intelligence remained with a radiant light embodiment. Other galactic intelligence with reverse complexes also were able to enter freely into your Sheshata and the area of time and space of your solar system. The influx of new galactic intelligences from Mars brought to Earth some of the qualities and functions of the original reversed ones. The need to expand their area of living, to place control and dominance over those who they came in relationship with, and the need for hierarchy and self-ruling. The integration of the Martian uranium resonance and other reverse galactic intelligence began to affect the harmonic intonation of your Earth. The High Spiritual Council, Galactic Earth Kin, Galactic Intelligence, we will call Star Kin, and the Galactic Star Federation gave attention and support to the shifting of the consciousness on your planet and throughout your solar system. A system was put in place to monitor the fluctuations of vibrational frequencies put out by the reverse galactic intelligence and the Martian uranium grouping. This was to determine what their effects had on the greening environment, Earth Kin, and biological life forms on your planet. Just a little blip. There's so much positivity in there, but right now we're in the thick of discerning wisdom about reverse consciousness. The key to all of you is to understand frequency. The higher the frequency, we can even heal those with reverse consciousness. So part of my talks is about that. Again, we explained about the galactic star origin. You know, if you see and know, and I've done hundreds and almost thousands of galactic star origin sessions. If you understand why you came, were you alone? Were you in a grouping? Did you come in a stargate? Did you phase in? Are you a light being? Did you come in a starship? Did you get dropped off? What is your contracts and agreements to being here? They usually parallel what's going on in your life now. And then going back to where you came from and actually acknowledging, are you from the place of sound? Are you in the same embodiment that you had when you were on Earth? I discovered a lot of those who were in a reptilian type shape form, when they were off the planet, they changed into more of a light being. So there's all kind of information there for you in what I'm speaking to you. And so this is remembering who you truly are. And with that, we're going to say glory in the light of the Radiant One. And I think I'll stop the sharing so that we can open for questions if we'd like.